The skyscrapers are empty, the streets are without traffic, and chilling silence emanates throughout the area. These are the scenes of China's ghost cities. These streets resemble abandoned or evacuated cities from a zombie or nuclear apocalypse movie, but nobody even lived here in the first place. China's economic plan to build into oblivion has transformed it into the world's second biggest economy in a short space of time. But do these empty cities show the ugly side of this economic boom? Let's take a look. Number 1, Ordos. The whole city feels like a post-apocalyptic space station straight out of a science fiction movie. The words of photographer Raphael Olivier when speaking about the Chinese ghost city Ordos in northern China. In the early 2000s, China experienced a coal mining boom and was awash with cash. Expecting a huge economic boom, they built an entire new city named Ordos, which was anticipated to be the home of 1 million people. 10 years later, hardly anyone had moved over. Ordos's new town was very close to Ordos's old town, which was already a thriving town. There was no need to make this place their home. And who wants to live in a ghost town? And when the new city was completed, the government proactively moved to near Ordos to encourage residents to come and start a new beginning. It seems like that in theory, but in reality it's different. Most apartments are owned by investors who are playing the real estate waiting game, hoping to make money on them in the long run, and there's certainly no price drop anytime soon. By 2016, China expected to have 300,000 residents come to live here. However, the actual number is only 100,000 due to high taxes and degraded facilities. Since then, many apartments have been left vacant, and the city has become a ghost city. And this is not just a problem in Ordos, but across China, with more than 65 million empty units, enough to house France's entire population. They could even provide shelter for a quarter of China's 300 million homeless. Wondering why Chinese people keep building more houses and then don't use them? Well, it's because the Chinese see property as a safe bet. They can't invest outside China, so owning multiple homes is like sending cash into the future. That's why the real estate industry plays an important role in the Chinese economy, and because demand keeps increasing, they keep building more. Number 2, Kunming's ghost neighborhood. Surely you will be skeptical when we mention Kunming, the third most populous city in southwestern China after Chongqing and Chengdu. However, the term ghost city is not only used to refer to abandoned cities, but also to deserted residential areas, in this case even located in the middle of bustling urban centers. Enter Sunshine City, an unremarkable place in Kunming, where they decided to completely knock down 15 skyscrapers. The construction of the Kunming complex named Sunshine City 2 began in 2011. However, due to insufficient funding to continue construction, it was completely stopped in 2013. When the owners knew receivership in 2020, they filed a request to demolish the complex because they wanted to build newer and lower apartment buildings, and because the unfinished buildings were no longer intact. The Kunming complex demolition is the largest measured by floor space and number of buildings, one-time demolition in China. A similar case in the city, of course not to the point of being demolished, is the Evergrande Splendor Kunming. Encouraged by low-cost government loans, Evergrande jumped into the construction boom of the past 20 years with both feet. The Evergrande Splendor was a complete city fresh out of the box. Hospitals, schools, recreation centers, all the amenities of a modern city just waiting for the residents to arrive. But they didn't turn up, and Evergrande was stuck with massive quantities of housing stock it could neither sell nor rent. The COVID-19 pandemic made matters worse. In January 2024, the company was forced into bankruptcy. With no one to take over, people began to leave, and all of the shops and stores were closed as well as its kindergarten and hospital. Number 3, Tianducheng. In the classic movie Casablanca, Rick said, "We will always have Paris." What if that was said by someone in China? Welcome to one of China's quirkiest ghost cities, Tianducheng. The concept of living in a Paris-inspired city in China sounds splendid, right? Well, they didn't just take inspiration from Paris, they cloned it. Can you distinguish which photos were taken in Paris and which ones were taken in China? This trend of duplicitecture might seem confusing to some, but for others, it's like getting a taste of Paris without the jet lag. But don't expect too much, because unlike the original Paris, the scene here will definitely give you the true feeling of Paris syndrome. Originally planned to house 10,000 residents by 2021, Tianducheng only managed to attract a measly 10% of that figure. And most of the inhabitants are just curious tourists from nearby Shanghai. Maybe they can only copy Paris, but not Parisians. Number 4. China's Manhattan Yujiapu. Yujiapu, China's attempt at creating a replica of the iconic Manhattan skyline. With a promotional video that immediately reminds us of American cities, skyscrapers, shopping malls, stores, but with no homeless people, drug addicts, gangs, or graffiti. What a paradise to live in. Yet for all its meticulous imitation, Yujiapu lacks the lively nature of its New York counterpart. The streets are not noisy with the bustle of rush-hour commuters, nor are they filled with crowds of pedestrians. Instead, there are only towering buildings standing there, lacking the vibrancy expected of a metropolis. Number 5. Thamestown, Shanghai's London. Here we go again, another Chinese attempt to recreate the charm of a foreign city, only to end up being an abandoned replica. Welcome to Thamestown, where the streets simulate the English old towns. Just what you would imagine when you think of England. Red phone booths, fish and chip shops, cozy English pubs, Victorian-style shophouses and walkways. Ah, but this time, there are no iconic buildings like Big Ben, London Bridge, or Buckingham Palace. Instead of the lively London scene, you're met with eerily quiet streets and a ghostly ambience. Despite its charm, Thamestown remains largely empty, with shops shutting down left and right. Number 6. Chenggong. Amidst the ghost stories of abandoned cities, there is a ray of hope shining through Chenggong. What was once natural farmland and undulating mountains in 2003 transformed into an untouchable city in 2013. However, since 7 universities have been established in the area, Chenggong has found a new life. Now the area is covered with a bustling night market, with street vendors and young people roaming the streets on weekends. Even international brands like H&M and Zara have jumped on the bandwagon, setting up shop in this evolving city. So while Chenggong may have started as a ghost town, it's well on its way to becoming a bustling hub of life and activity. Number 7. Pudong. Let's wrap up with a tale that might just restore your faith in China's urban planning. Meet Pudong, China's first ghost city, located just outside the bustling metropolis of Shanghai. Envisioned as a gleaming financial district, Pudong faced ridicule from critics worldwide when it emerged in the 1990s. In 1998, in the midst of the Asian financial crisis, Pudong's skyscrapers had a dismal 70% vacancy rate. The district was full of abandoned apartments, and empty subdivisions stretched for miles. But behind the scenes, China was quietly plotting a comeback. By 2005, the Shanghai government orchestrated a strategic relocation, enticing government-owned banks and international businesses to set up in Pudong. The recovery process was slow but steady, and the results were there. Its annual GDP soared to a whopping $400 billion, making this ghost city just a ghost of the past. Witnessing the recovery of Chenggong and Pudong, we ourselves are curious whether in the future in China, ghost cities will escape their unfortunate fate, or will there be many more ghost cities? But for now, let's face it, China's ghost cities and neighborhoods stand as a stark reminder of the complexities that come with monumental growth. Thanks for tuning in, and if you found this video interesting, show us some love by giving it a like and hit that subscribe button. Until next time.